So, you've come this far. You're interested in figuring out what a personal learning environment is. You may have a vague idea, but now you're looking for specifics. When I ask my students or other adults what they think of when they think of a personal learning environment, often ideas of a study, the bedroom where a desk and a bookshelf and maybe a computer are sitting, a physical space where people go to do work comes to mind. And what we're talking about in personal learning environment is, in fact, not too different from that. It involves all the things that you need to learn. Think for a second about a manufacturing company, somebody who manufactures something. Let's take something simple like maybe bottling water. So to bottle water, you need to have water. You need to have some chemicals or an oxidization process or something that changes the water from its initial flat state to its finished state where it's marketable. And you need to have bottles. You need to put them in the bottles so that you can deliver them and, in fact, call them bottled water. So you have your goal, your end product, and that is the bottled water. You probably have customers who buy this bottled water from you. But before you get to the point of doing what you really want to do, which is sell the bottled water so that you can make some money, you need to put it together. And you've pulled the water, you've pulled the chemicals, the supplies, you've figured out what you need, what the components are, and to make that product. But then what you have to do is you have to figure out who is going to supply each of these components to me. Obviously, I'm going to get my water maybe from the tap. I'm going to potentially get my water from a mineral water source or a spring. So I'm going to get my water from somewhere, a supplier that will give me water, whether it's free from the tap or I purchase it or have it shipped in from somewhere else. I need my processing material, and maybe that involves a chemical company where I will get chlorine or whatever it is that they use to clean the water so that it is free from anything that might harm the end drinker. And then, obviously, the bottles have to come from somewhere. Chances are you're not going to make the bottles yourself, but even if you were, you'd have to buy the plastic. So you've got to find a source for your bottles somewhere. So you have your suppliers. Once you bring the supplies in, then you have to receive those supplies, right? So that you're getting only the materials in that you asked for. You don't have suppliers sending you extra things. You don't have other things coming into your workshop that you really don't need or didn't ask for. So your receiving department filters out the things that you don't need and only brings in those things that you do need. Then you have your workshop area where you process the water and you clean the bottles and then bottle the water and prepare them for sale. Once you have your bottled water, then you warehouse the water. Obviously, you're not going to bottle the water to order. So if Joe calls and says, hey, I need 5 bottles of water, you're not going to go, cool, give me 2 weeks. I'm going to call my suppliers, get the supplies I need in. I'm going to bottle the water, and in 2 weeks, you're going to have your water. They want the water instantly. So you're going to have a warehouse where you're going to keep all these bottles of water so that when Joe calls, you can say, no problem, I got 5 right here. I'm going to send them to you. And then you have to have a distribution system. You have to have a way of getting your bottled water from your warehouse to Joe. So you have a network of drivers. You might have, if it's another industry, you might use FedEx. You might, there are any number of ways of getting your product to your customer. Building knowledge is not too different than bottling water in this sense. You need to figure out right from square one, what is your goal or your end product? If you're taking a course in something, that goal or end product is easy because somebody a teacher, the Ministry of Education, someone says that this is what you need to learn. And then you have to go about your business learning that material. Now, in the olden days, and unfortunately all too often in the current days, that means that teacher gets up in the front of the room, starts to lecture, you read textbook, and then in a couple of weeks there's a test and you fill out all these bubbles on a sheet, and that tells you what you've learned. But the reality is, learning is much more complex than that. And you are often going to be in situations where you have to figure out what it is that you need to learn. Maybe you're already in a course where somebody's telling you what you have to learn, but there are some things that you already know and other things that you're really not so clear on. So you need to differentiate between what you already know and what it is that you still need to learn. So you have to identify what the goal is or the end product is. Then you have to figure out what you need to learn it. Again, in a classroom situation, often the teacher will tell you, here's your textbook, listen to my lectures, take notes. Hopefully it's a little more exciting than that, but that's a sort of a base level. So you may need to, maybe you're looking to buy a car, and you need to find out the information about cars. You may not know much about cars, but you know you need to get from point A to point B on a regular basis, and you need a car to do it. So you have to learn about cars. What is it that I need in a car to fulfill my goal of going from point A to point B daily? And what is a good car? What is a bad car? How much do I need to pay for this? And you have to figure out what it is that you need to learn about cars before you can go on and buy the car. So then, once you know what it is that you need to learn, then you have to figure out who you learn it from. And you might just go down to your car dealership and talk to a car salesman. The car salesman has a bias. The car salesman wants to sell you a car, and in all likelihood, he will tell you that the car that he has sitting right there on the lot is the exact car that you need. Probably, you're going to want to go online, check out some different ads, maybe on Craigslist, maybe on car-specific sales sites. Google different things to find out prices, fair prices in your area for certain cars. Go to your automobile association. So you're finding different people or different organizations that you can put together the knowledge. You can find the answers that you need. You can learn what it is that you need to learn about buying a car before you go to that car lot and start talking to that salesman. Those people that you're learning from are your personal learning network. In a digital age, often that personal learning network will come through platforms like Facebook, Google+, Twitter. You may pose a question on your Facebook page. Hey guys, I'm looking to buy a car. Can anybody help? Does anybody know anything? And can anybody tell me what I need to know? Or you might get more specific and find, as I said before, a car-specific website with maybe a discussion forum and people that are connected to it that know a lot about cars that you could add to your personal learning network so that you can learn what you need to learn. Once you start gathering this information, you need to receive it. You need to pull in the information that you find valuable and filter out the information that you don't. Chances are if you go online in a very public forum and say, hey, I want to buy a car, you'll get a whole bunch of car sales companies contacting you and saying, boy, can I help you? You probably want to filter that stuff out and find sources that you trust. You may find that you get all sorts of other information that's totally unrelated to car buying, and you need to filter that out. So this is like in our water bottling company, this is the receiving department. These are the people who say, yes, we'll take this information, but no, thank you, we don't need that information. And you filter out that. Then you have to work with that knowledge. You might find that you get all sorts of specific information about specific cars, and maybe you narrow it down to a few different cars and you put together a spreadsheet or you have friends help you collaborate on a spreadsheet. You go into Google Spreadsheets and you put car number 1, car number 2, car number 3. Here are my criteria, things that I'm looking for in a car, and let's start comparing. This one has better mileage. This one's a lot cheaper to start with. This one's going to cost more to insure. Whatever the information that's important to you. So you have some sort of a workspace, whether it's a piece of scratch paper that you jot things down on or something collaborative like that Google spreadsheet that I was talking about. You have some sort of a workspace that you start to work with this knowledge. Now, once you've learned what you want to learn, what are you going to do with it? Partly, you're going to walk out the door and you're going to go down to the car dealership and you're going to say, okay, this is the car I want. This is how much I'm prepared to pay for it, because you've done your research. But you may want to share the knowledge that you've accumulated. You may decide that, there are an awful lot of people who helped me to make this decision, and I bet you there's a whole bunch of other people out there who have the same questions as I do. So maybe if I put this information out there in maybe one of those discussion forums that I was on, or maybe I have a blog and I post it there, or however you wish to share it back out so that other people can benefit from the work that you've done and the knowledge that you've built up. Rarely is the answer to your question the end to your inquiry. You may find that, right now I have this amount of money. I can't really get the car that I really want. I can get a car that I can afford, and it's probably the right car for me right now. But I can see that 5 years down the road, I might need a different car. And I have this information here. I need to save this, because when I come back in 5 years, I want to have a starting point. I want to at least have my criteria list. I recognize that makes and models might change. Prices certainly will change. But boy, can I save a lot of time if I keep this information and I can come back to it. I'm 2-3 weeks ahead of the game from where I started this time. Sometimes you need to provide evidence of your learning. Maybe with that car dealer, the car dealer saying, no. You don't want this car, you want this car over here. And you say, well, actually, I did a comparison of those two cars. Here's my spreadsheet, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but on my criteria, that other car is a much better car for me. Sometimes if you're working in a course, you need to provide evidence to a teacher or to a graduation panel or some such thing that says, yes, in fact, what you told me I had to learn, I have learned. Here is proof. I have done X, Y, and Z. There you go. Or you might be applying for a job or applying to get into a university where you supply evidence of your skills and of your learning. And keeping information, keeping your work, keeping your built-up knowledge somewhere in a place that you can find it easily and then you can share it easily is really, really advantageous and is becoming more and more the norm. And this kind of a space that you archive material and then you share it out, this is called a portfolio. So your personal learning environment is much more than simply that chair and desk in your bedroom or in your study or at work. It is an extension of that. It includes your personal learning network, so it's everybody that helps to help you learn. It includes your portal, your receiving department, that filter that brings in the information that's important and relevant to you, and it filters out all that other information that you really don't care about. It involves a collaborative workspace, a space where you can work with this knowledge, whether it's on your own or it has connections with the outside world, so you can collaborate with others as you're working through projects and building things together and building knowledge together. So, and finally, it has a portfolio, a place to take that finished product and either save it or share it, or both. So, personal learning environments. Hopefully that gets you started. Hopefully you'll spend some time in the galleries getting into more details about what kinds of tools and what kind of strategies and techniques you can use to build these components in your personal learning environment. And hopefully you'll be able to add to these as you go along, as you become an expert in your personal learning environment.